Tywin Lannister has House Stark's ancestral Valyrian steel greatsword, Ice, claimed by the Lannisters after Eddard Stark's execution, melted down and reforged into 2 smaller swords. As he watches the process, he casually throws the sword's wolf pelt scabbard into the smith's fire, smirking as it burns. He gifts one of the new swords to his son, Jaime, who is impressed since the Lannisters have lacked a Valyrian steel sword for generations. Tywin explains that he took the blade from someone who no longer needed it, and had a renowned Volantene blacksmith reforge it. Hoping Jaime will become his heir and return to Castle Rock, Tywin is angered when Jaime refuses, choosing to stay in the Kingsguard. Frustrated by his son's defiance and lack of ambition, Tywin dismisses him, but allows Jaime to keep the sword nonetheless. Tyrion Lannister, accompanied by Bronn and Podrick Payne, waits outside the city for the arrival of Prince Doran Martell of Dorne, who has been invited to the royal wedding. Tyrion quizzes Bronn on the sigils of the Dornish houses, but Bronn is clueless while Podrick answers flawlessly. Lord Blackmont soon arrives, informing them that Prince Doran, due to his poor health, has remained in Sunspear. Instead, his brother Prince Oberyn will attend the wedding in his place, and has already arrived before dawn. Assigning the reception of the Dornish lords to the city watch, Tyrion urges them to find Oberyn quickly, fearing he might cause trouble. Meanwhile, Prince Oberyn and his lover, Ellaria Sand, are selecting prostitutes at a brothel owned by Petyr Baelish, now managed by a liver in his absence. They choose the contortionist Murray, and Oberyn invites a liver to join them. However, his mood sours when he hears men singing the Rains of Castamere. Enraged, he confronts 2 Lannister soldiers who mock him and Ellaria. He taunts them for being weak compared to true lions. When one soldier reaches for his weapon, Oberyn swiftly stabs him through the wrist and warns the other to fetch help if he wants his friend to live. At that moment, Tyrion and Bronn arrive, and Tyrion takes Oberyn aside for a private conversation. Oberyn reveals his desire for vengeance against House Lannister for the brutal murder of his niece, nephew, and sister Elia during the sack of King's Landing. He seeks justice against Gregor Clegane, who carried out the act, and Tywin Lannister, whom he believes ordered it. Elsewhere, Tyrion, Sansa, Shae, and a handmaiden sit in a garden. Sansa remains distraught over her mother and brother's brutal deaths. Tyrion tries to comfort her, but fails, as she is haunted by details of how their bodies were desecrated after the Red Wedding. She leaves for the Godswood, the only place where no one bothers her. Later, Tyrion returns to his chambers to find Shae waiting in his bed. He scolds her for the risk of being discovered, but she tries to seduce him. When he resists, she accuses him of trying to send her away with diamonds, unaware that it was Varys acting alone. Furious, she storms out, only to be seen by Bernadette, a handmaiden who had been secretly eavesdropping. In Cersei's chambers, Jaime, Cersei, and Qyburn meet as Qyburn fits Jaime with a golden prosthetic hand. Afterward, Qyburn inquires about Cersei's health, and she dismisses any concerns. Once they are alone, Jaime expresses his desire to stay in the Kingsguard to remain close to her, but when he attempts to kiss her, she turns away. Hurt and confused, he listens as Cersei implies she has taken other lovers, blaming their separation for the change in their relationship. Her words visibly wound him. Their tense moment is interrupted when Bernadette arrives with urgent news for Cersei. As preparations for the royal wedding progress, Margaery Tyrell and her grandmother Olenna are approached by Brienne of Tarth. Olenna, amused by the rumors about Brienne's stature, watches as Brienne requests a private conversation with Margaery. She reveals the truth about Renly Baratheon's death and vows to one day take revenge on Stannis Baratheon, whom she holds responsible. As they walk, they pass a newly erected statue of King Joffrey standing over a slain direwolf, symbolizing his victory over the Northern Rebellion. Elsewhere in the Red Keep, Jaime discusses security for the wedding with King Joffrey and Esser Meryn Trant. Jaime is irritated by Joffrey's arrogance and Meryn's sycophantic praise, as the king boasts about feeding the people credit that rightfully belongs to the Tyrells, and claims he single-handedly won the war. Jaime, aware that many still wish Joffrey dead, reminds him that the war is far from over, as Stannis Baratheon remains a threat. Joffrey, unimpressed, flips through the Book of Brothers, which chronicles the deeds of the Kingsguard. He mocks Jaime's brief entry, sneering that nothing of note has been recorded. He further questions Jaime's ability to serve with one hand. Jaime, refusing to be humiliated, dryly remarks that it simply makes things more challenging. Meanwhile, Jaime and Brienne observe Sansa praying alone in the Godswood. Brienne reminds him of his oath to return Catelyn Stark's daughters, but Jaime argues that the situation has changed. Catelyn is dead, Sansa is married to Tyrion, and Arya is presumed dead. As Sansa prepares to leave, she is approached by Dantos Hollard, who expresses his gratitude for her past kindness. As a token of appreciation, he gifts her what he claims is his mother's necklace. At Castle Black, Jon Snow has largely recovered from the wounds inflicted by Margaery, though he still grimaces while dressing and walks with a slight limp. After learning of Robb's death, he confides in Samwell Tarly about his long-standing jealousy, how Robb always had more of their father's affection and excelled at riding, fighting, and attracting women. Despite this, Jon admits he could never bring himself to hate Robb. Sam, in turn, reveals that he has felt similarly about Jon, believing Jon to be better than him at everything except reading. Sam was actually sent to fetch Jon, who has been summoned to testify before a panel of 5 sworn brothers, including Maester Aemon, Acting Lord Commander Alliser Thorne, First Builder Othel Yarwick, and Janos Slynt, the former Lord Commander of the King's Landing City Watch. Both Thorne and Slynt are openly hostile, doubting much of Jon's testimony. When Jon admits to killing Qhorin Halfhand, he explains that it was not murder but a strategic act. Qhorin wanted Jon to kill him to gain the wildlings' trust and infiltrate Mance Rayder's army. Slynt dismisses Jon as the bastard son of a traitor, while Thorne, who was close to Qhorin, scoffs at Jon's presumption that he understood the Halfhand's intentions. Jon counters by insisting that Qhorin would have done anything to protect the Night's Watch. When Jon refers to the wildlings as free folk, Slynt accuses him of adopting their ways. Jon fires back, admitting he lived among them, ate with them, climbed the wall with them, and after hesitating, slept with one. Slynt immediately calls for his execution, citing a breach of the Night's Watch vows. However, Maester Aemon points out the impracticality of executing every ranger who has been with a woman, joking that the wall would be manned by headless men. Thorne argues that there is a difference between visiting a brothel in Mole's Town and fraternizing with the enemy. Rather than defending himself, Jon shifts the focus to Mance Rayder's impending attack, warning that his army of 100,000 wildlings is preparing to strike and detailing Mance's strategy. Thorne and Slynt remain skeptical, but Aemon recognizes Jon's sincerity. The hearing concludes with Jon spared from execution, though Thorne later expresses his lingering distrust of him. Margaery and Tormund stand outside a rocky ravine, where Tormund scolds her for failing to kill Jon Snow. Their conversation is interrupted when their scouts signal an approaching presence. Moments later, Styr and a group of Thenns emerge through the ravine. As they draw near, Tormund mutters his distaste for Thenns under his breath. Styr informs them that his group raided a village south of the ravine, collecting fresh meat. He remarks that food tastes far better beyond the wall, and mocks Tormund for losing both their warg and Jon Snow. He then reminds them that the Night's Watch are feasting and growing fat at Castle Black. With a smirk, Styr suggests that before Tormund dies, he should try the taste of crow meat, gesturing toward a human arm roasting over the fire. Daenerys Targaryen sits by the sea, her 3 dragons, each roughly the size of a small horse, by her side. She gently strokes Drogon's head while Rhaegal and Viserion tussle over a dead lamb. Suddenly, Drogon leaps into the fray. When Daenerys attempts to calm him, he unexpectedly hisses and snaps at her, a clear warning to stay out of it. With a roar, he turns back to claim his share of the kill. This moment, her own children threatening her and growing beyond her control, leaves Daenerys visibly unsettled. As she struggles to process it, Jorah Mormont approaches and gently reminds her that dragons can never truly be tamed, not even by their mother. Daenerys returns to her unsullied army to continue the march toward Meereen. Noticing the absence of Grey Worm and Daario Naharis, she inquires about them and learns they are gambling, seeking them out. She finds the 2 seated opposite each other, weapons in hand, locked in a test of endurance since midnight. Daario explains they are competing to determine who will ride beside her in the vanguard. Irritated, Daenerys declares that the honor will go to Esser Jorah and Esser Barristan, as they did not waste her time. She then orders Grey Worm and Daario to ride at the back with the livestock, adding that whoever holds onto his sword the longest should find a new queen to serve. Without hesitation, both men immediately drop their weapons. As Daenerys travels toward Meereen, she speaks with Missandei, who assures her that the city would be wise to fear her arrival. Their conversation is interrupted by Daario, who approaches with a handful of flowers, much to Daenerys' irritation. However, he explains that the flowers serve more than an aesthetic purpose. They provide insight into the land's resources, and reinforce the importance of understanding her surroundings for strategic advantage. The march comes to an abrupt halt when Daenerys reaches the front of the army and discovers a crucified slave child, her lifeless hand pointing toward Meereen. Esser Jorah solemnly informs her that there is one such child for every mile leading to the city, 163 in total. When Esser Barristan offers to send outriders ahead to bury them, Daenerys refuses. She orders that each child be laid to rest and their collars removed, but not before she has looked upon every single face.